Thank you. Several questions. First, you're right. I should have met Mr. Stone before today. I now have his card, and I'm going to rectify that, and we've already made arrangements to get together, and we will continue our conversations. As far as the lenders are concerned, I wasn't here at the time, but a little history with the banks is that I won't say it closed down, but in 2011, the Small Business Loan Guarantee Program had a pause. Let's not say it stopped, had a pause. And as a result of that pause, many of the lenders, be they banks or credit unions, became concerned about whether it made sense for them to be in the state Small Business Loan Guarantee Program. And many of them left the program, completely left. In 2013, October 2013, when the guarantee program came to iBank, we had about 39, 40, 44 banks that were participating in the program. As of 2016 right now, we have about 93 banks participating in the program. We have spent a good deal of outreach, both iBank, but also working very much with the FDCs. And I want to point out there's 3 FDCs at the table here today, Mark Robinson, Carl, and Michael Cassio. Carl, I just have trouble saying his name. Michael Cassio. And they are the ones that are the lifebloods and are working on the ground with the communities. But we need to bring more banks into the program. We're working very diligently on doing that, more banks in San Bernardino. iBank, except they're about to prepay, iBank has 5 infrastructure loans to agencies in San Bernardino. We believe in San Bernardino. We have about $25 million in San Bernardino. I want to make a point that even though San Bernardino is in bankruptcy, they have never missed a payment on an iBank loan. They are a testament to the soundness of the state and our municipalities. And when we talk to our rating agencies, we give them as an example of we're strong no matter what we may be facing. But we do need to do more community outreach in San Bernardino and other, I'm just going to call it disadvantaged communities, however you wish to define it. Mm-hmm. And that's why we meet regularly with the FDCs to figure out just how do we go about doing that. And the other thing, if I can just jump ahead, and this is probably, as a lawyer, you should never answer a question you haven't been asked, but I'm going to ask the question for you, is that we could do better for our minorities. The state guarantee program in 1968 was enacted particularly to help women, minorities, with their small businesses, because those were the folks who were unemployed. And as we said, it's the entrepreneur, it's the sole practitioner, the solo that are really the ones who start and who know the community and can bring those jobs in. So yes, I'm very proud of what we've done since 2013, but I totally recognize we have a lot more to do, and we'll be able to do it with the FDCs, and they'll share with you their ideas as well.
Thank you. Question, Assembly Member?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just had a real quick question. I'm hoping to have a real quick answer. Mr. Stone brought up that there would be really no connection with the Black Chamber of Commerce. Do you have any connection with the Asian American Chamber of Commerce or Hispanic Chamber of Commerce?
maybe I can look to answer that. Jesse Torres, Small Business Advocate. Yes, so we do know the California Chamber of Commerce, Julian Canetta primarily there, and also Joel Ayala, who's currently serving as the president and CEO of the California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. But I think to Aubrey's point, we could do a lot more. And I'm not going to BS Aubrey, because I don't want to say that. I think with the chambers providing tangible ways that we can work together is really important. And so even thinking through our programs like the Capital Infusion program, which is, has its own nuances about how the program is delivered, it is things like getting the chambers together in a room, sitting down with the leadership of the SBDCs and saying, how can we steer the program to better serve these areas? And I know some of the SBDCs are doing important work in communities like Watts and East LA, Monterey Park, et cetera. But what can you do to, one, bring visibility to that, to encourage other businesses to participate? I mean, that's the real work that I think needs to happen. And I did want to mention for the Assemblywoman Brown, we do have Mike Daniel, who's the regional director for the Orange County Inland Empire SBDC network. And there is an Inland Empire SBDC, and I believe they do have an office in San Bernardino, and maybe he can address that as part of public comments. But I know Mike, who used to work for me when I was there at LA, I know he'd be very much interested in sitting down with you and seeing what they can do to better steer the program or to align programs and services in a better way to serve that community. So I hope that answers the question. We do know the folks there, but getting to a place where we can do maybe more significant work, stronger work, we're always interested in doing that.
Thank you. Assemblymember.
I just wanted, because he mentioned the he mentioned the Inland Empire. The Inland Empire is a huge area, 4 million people. And so whenever you're talking about the 47th Assembly District, that particular district is probably the most needy of the whole Inland Empire. When you mix Orange County with it, it kind of takes the resources, and it doesn't put them where it really needs to be focused. I hope that we'll be able through this process to focus, like a laser focus, on the areas of need and on the areas that have the most need. That's in the area of the 47th Assembly District.
Assemblymember Gibson.
Thank you very much. I'm disappointed in hearing that you provided a solution to a question, and I'm surprised that there's no implementation with regarding to. This is not rocket scientist for me in terms of Mr. Arbery has been around for many, many years, fighting for small business, especially minority communities. You just said a few moments ago is gathering the chambers in the room, which is real simple to me, and having a dialogue and a conversation on how we can serve you. And I'm surprised that it hasn't been done today. I'm totally surprised, totally shocked. I'm totally shocked when Ms. Barnes say that she now has just been introduced by today with the card to have collaboration with Mr. Stone. Hell, Mr. Stone has been around long before I even got into politics, and he has been advocating on behalf of minority businesses in this state for many, many years. I'm also surprised to hear in terms of the lack of banking participation in low disadvantaged communities and the collaborations that obviously doesn't exist because, again, I'm hearing time and time again that small businesses in my community, which is the 6th poorest district in the state of California, has not been able to get any loans or any kind of support, any kind of help. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that I don't hear a plan, a strategic plan that's going to outline how we're going to address these particular issues. Maybe it's coming up with someone else and another panel is going to provide a plan that's going to address these particular needs. Maybe that's what's going to take place. I have a question. In your opinion, what is the greatest challenges facing small businesses in low-income areas, and what does GoBiz and the legislature needs to do to address some of these challenges? Anyone on the panel can answer that question. Please.
I'll just reiterate what I said earlier, Mr. Gibson.
Well, good, I'm deaf.
Yeah, and I don't know where your district is.
64th District, Compton, Watts, Linwood, North Long Beach.
Well, and I know Jesse's heard this a lot, but we really would like to see an increase in the funding to low-wealth communities such as yours and also Ms. Brown's, whom I've worked with quite a bit in the past, to support these self-employed people who are coming forward, who have the capacity and have the potential but need to build their capacity to grow businesses. We have a program that's worked really well. It's credit technical assistance, but it's that one-to-one. It's the chance to work with businesses over time, and that's what Kristen was saying is SBDC infrastructure provides that. The Women's Business Center provides that, and you need a Women's Business Center in your area, for example. So all of that is what Cameo has been following, and I want to just say we do have some of the tools here in our tool chest right here at the table, and let's get the legislature to support that.
Would you like someone from GoBiz group to also respond to that?
I just want to respond to the question about the banks. We can't make the banks participate. We have to structure a program that the banks can participate with the support of their banking regulators, with the support of the FDIC, and with the support of the Department of Business Oversight. So we had to go in and restructure the Small Business Loan Guarantee Program. I brought in a compliance officer because there was need for relooking at how the program was being managed effectively and being managed in a manner that the banks would be willing to participate. So when iBank received the Small Business Finance Center in 2013, October of 2013, we had 40 banks, and those were guys who, by the grace of God, the FDCs had very strong relationships with and were able to keep in the program. But 40 banks alone are not sufficient throughout the state to grow this program and bring loans to small businesses. Also, the 40 banks are not the big banks. They are the community banks. They are the small banks. They are the banks that know this community. And they were the ones. So we had to get the program into a point where they felt that the trust funds would be there if a claim was made on their loans. So we had to revamp the program with the FDCs, revamp the program to give the bankers confidence that if there is a claim on their loan, they won't have to be fighting the other lenders out there for a payment on their claim. It's particularly for 80%, going up to 80% of the loans. So, yes, I need to do more. I admit it. I need to do more in outreach, and I will do it. But I also know that we have been spending, including myself, working tirelessly to get the banks into the program. And before I can do anything, I need the banks to be participating. So to go from 44 to 93 in 2 years is a start. But it's a big start. It's over 30% start. And we're going to continue to do more. Yeah. But that's how we do it. We can't do it alone. We don't have, it's loans. It's not grants that we have. So I commit to you, I will continue to do outreach. I will continue to work with the banks. But if I don't have the banks there, then I don't have a guarantee program. And that's where we have to go. We need to be sure that that trust fund, the federal monies and the state funds, are protected, and that the banks know it's protected, and that they know it will be there for the life of their loans and future loans that they make. And so the loans are 7 years. They need to be there for a long time.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would suggest that we have a conversation with the Bank and Finance Chair and Jobs Chair to see how we can collaborate and make this a more easier process, because I'm hearing that the banks are unwilling to participate, and I think that we need to, again, let the banks know that we are the legislature.
I do want to say a shout out for Axion. They are one of our biggest participants, and they serve as a model for our program.
And I will say that Axion has just expanded their presence in Southern California in our district, and I certainly appreciate you highlighting that as well. I know our Vice Chair has a question. I do want to go back and get some comments from the other two panelists.
Well, thank you very much. I didn't get to hear everybody on this panel giving presentations, so forgive me for missing part of your presentations. But as I stated in my opening statement, in my personal experience, I know you are very good at being reactive. When our office refer constituents who has problems or need questions answered, you are really good at responding and providing tools and resources that you currently have to try to guide them in the right place. But I want to ask how GoBiz is being proactive. Being reactive is one thing, because then, because you already have something in your office you can share, but the great things that you've done, especially in 3 years that GoBiz has been in the implementation stage, you have created, fine-tuned, and come up with great resources that can be helpful out there for small businesses and for our constituents who are trying to find capital infusion and whatnot. But how are you being proactive to let the public know about those great resources and tools available? Sadly, as I meet with the business community throughout my district, especially when I go to the chambers and talk to individual businesses, sadly, they tell me they don't know what GoBiz is, or they don't know what programs are available. They don't know what information is out there for them to take advantage of. So I know you are talking about community outreach programs, and my colleagues on this panel have been asking you the same question. Every one of us is asking, how are you doing your community outreach? And some of you have responded by responding that you're going to do more. But I would like to hear, in the 3 years implementation process, what are some of the things that you've done in order to be proactive to get the GoBiz operations out to the public so they know about it? And what kind of community events has GoBiz and any of you have participated that you think was, that have made a difference? What I'm trying to say is, I don't want you to wait for invitations to come. I want you to take the initiative to get out there to let the public, especially the business community, know, whether it's through the chambers or whatnot, or participating in trade shows. Let them know that you're out there and you have these programs. Don't just wait. Any one of you, that was kind of a statement and question, but I would like to really hear specific outreach programs that you have participated and initiative that you have taken to be more proactive. And I do have one follow-up question after.
Sure, and let me just, so one way that we've been proactive has been the launch of the California Business Portal, which was launched in 2015 in July, which is designed to be a one-stop shop for a website for business owners. Already we've seen tremendous traffic to that website. This is a joint initiative both with our IT chief and also the IT Leadership Academy, and also numerous agencies provide updated content on a regular basis. So that's been a response to the fact that more and more business owners are using online tools to get information. The other thing out of the Office of Small Business Advocate, we have been proactive in facilitating events. So just this year alone, we look to do 40 small business forums, primarily with members of the Assembly and the Senate. Of course, any opportunity to join forces with your team, we'd love to do it. But we've been doing that across the states, and that's actually been one of the really kind of great event series we put on, because one, we have the member there connecting with the district in a real personal way, but also we can do, bring in local resource partners, also share the podium and tell about not just state resources, but other local resources that they offer. In addition, our office facilitates the GoBiz Summit Series, which is a much larger event program, between 150 people, 200 each time we do it. We've done 2 already, one in Clovis, one in San Francisco. We'll be doing one in LA in May, and then another one here in Sacramento towards the end of the year. Again, more event kind of focused activities. The other thing we've done, and I do think there's power in convening people, we convene small business stakeholder roundtables. So not we invite small business to participate. Also, the resource partners that are there within that particular city. So we've done that already here in Sacramento. We've done that in Los Angeles already this year, and then looking to do 2 more, one in San Diego area, and then also again up north, working to see where would be the best place to do that. So we take it upon ourselves to do a lot of outreach events on our own, really thinking about what is the best way to connect with the small business community. But maybe I'll stop there in case Tabia has additional things.
The iBank participates in many of the outreach forums and workshops that Jesse just enumerated. I thought we had provided the committee with a list of all of the workshops and activities that we've done throughout the state in terms of in certain districts with outreach with the stakeholders that were brought to our attention, plus working with the FDCs and meeting with groups of banks. So we are doing outreach. I will continue to say we could do more. But to your other question, if I may, because we can provide you with that list, being proactive. iBank has been proactive in 2 areas. We've been proactive on our own initiative. We formed the California Lending for Energy and Environmental Needs Center, the CLEAN Center at iBank, to deal with clean energy infrastructure, water infrastructure, and environmental. We did that on our own because we looked around the state and we saw a need, and with the governor's mandate and the legislature's mandate on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, we thought we could play a part there, so we did that on our own. Also, in terms of export financing, we, in addition to the Small Business Loan Guarantee Program, we appreciate that there is a need to assist, again, to help the lenders take on the risk, because export financing is a different animal than commercial lending. There are additional country risks that have to be taken into consideration that go beyond what a normal community bank would be willing to accept. So we are in the process, we've discussed this at board meetings, and we are in the process of developing an export finance direct loan participation program where we can participate with the FDCs in making direct loans similar to the way we do direct farm loans. And so there, I believe we're being very much proactive, not waiting for someone to come to us, and thinking of ways that we can help with the export base. We did this as a result of Exim Bank when there was some question as to whether or not Exim Bank was going to be a viable entity on the federal level. We said, fine, we'll just do it on the state level and be an alternative to Exim Bank.
Thank you.
Ms. Barnes, thank you very much for your response. My statement/question wasn't necessarily meant to be a criticism. And you, in your response, you did state that you provided those specific outreach programs, and I do appreciate it, and I read it. It's just that this is a hearing for the benefit of the public to know what you have done. That way, they know if they were if they were in the communities that you did the outreach, or if there was a specific program that you did, I wanted them to know, which is why I wanted you to elaborate it, not for the benefit of us, because you provide all that information to us for our benefit, and we haven't, and we keep it, but it's for us. I want that to be shared with the public, which is why I asked you to elaborate specific things if you did. And I want to thank the other, when you mentioned the website portals and the resources are available on the website. I want to thank you for that, because as you know, if you remember last year, I had a legislation, AB 419. It specifically asks that the rulemaking process and any new rules and regulations that we pass out of this legislature be available for the public for an easy access. So my ultimate goal is to have anyone who wants to find any information to go to that website, type in a keyword that pertains to your specific industry, so they don't have to go through millions of rules. That doesn't apply to you. But just come up with the rules and regulations that is specific to you to make it easier for you to navigate through the process and to find out what rules you need to stay in compliance with. That's my ultimate goal, and hopefully we'll get there. And I'm glad that you started that website, even though my bill did not get out. But I do have one other question, if you don't mind. The 2 weeks ago, this committee had another committee hearing, and at the time, the panelists stated that attracting jobs and businesses that fit the local community is one of the priorities that we heard from the economic development stakeholders. So what does GoBiz do to evaluate where to potentially locate new businesses, business expansion, or even foreign direct investment and expansion? Can you expand on that or elaborate on it?
Vice Chair Kim Andrews Sternfels, Deputy Director for Legislative and Intergovernmental Affairs. I believe we'll get into both of those topics on the next two panels if you'd be comfortable holding your question till then.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to get there. One question from Assemblymember Shajan, and I know we have just a comment from Assemblymember Chu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Speaking of experience, I want to say that there's a lot of truth what Ms. Barnes spoke of. It's your locally owned and operated community banks who were able to go out of their way and loan money based on person's ethics, but then came Dodd-Frank Act and tied up their hands. And it's not fair to us to jump on those who are willing to help, but know that there are federal regulations that tie up their hands, and they're not able to do business like they used to. Maybe we need to address those regulations and address the federal folks as how to do business. I don't think we have much to say because they are as federally regulated, and the bigger banks are just a number. And the locally owned and operated banks who were more able to come out of their way and help us, they weren't able to. So look into the Dodd-Frank Act and see how much impact it has on how the local banks operate anymore, and let's address those rather than go after those who are willing to go out of their way to help our local businesses. I am a small business. I have used the services, and local banks want to do small business loans because it's 80%, 90% guaranteed by the government. They would love those loans because the worst case scenario, they only have 10% to lose. So we need to look further than the folks are here today to see what caused the problem. Mm-hmm. And I think, in my view, at least, again, repeating myself, Dodd-Frank Act put a big impact on how we loan money anymore. We went from one extreme to the other extreme, from no regulations to overly regulated industry.
Thank you, Assemblymember Kansachu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to publicly thank Jesse Torres for coming down to my district and work with my staff. We held a very successful small business workshop. I just want to also offer my resources, the connections in the local district, and please feel free to use my office as your resources as well. You know, representing the heart of Silicon Valley, and we still have the community in desperate need. We have small business that coming up, on the hourly or just every minute and every second. So the need is there, even in the heart of the Silicon Valley. I'm looking forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, Assemblymember.
I don't want to take up too much room, but too much time. But I wanted to bring 2 points. One, what is the CRA, the Community Reinvestment Act, of these banks doing if they're not providing this to us? That's number one. Let me give you the other one, and that way you'll. The other thing that came to me is that I met last week with the small business organization, Betty Tacorley. Yeah. And she brought in a group of people who were businesses in my community. One of the things that they said about GoBiz was that they're not interacting enough with the small business community. And they said that the tax credit thing is pushed so much. When you're a small business, a tax credit is not something that you're really, first of all, many of them don't understand it, but then they want to know what can you do to help small and micro businesses, because if we can help them be healthy, then they can, work in our community much better. But those are two questions or 2 points.